All right, ladies and gentlemen, excited to have on General Manager of your Sacramento Republic, Todd Dunivant. Thanks for sitting down in these chairs that I think every time we record, I feel like they get a little lower to the ground, right?
You're just getting bigger.
No, that's not true. It's definitely not true.
It's all the push-ups.
We'll talk about MLS fantasy here at the end.
Good.
Because I know you're excited about that. But I wanted to have you on. Obviously, a lot of news broke yesterday about the roster and things for the offseason. We'll touch on that here in a sec. But I wanted to kind of wrap up the end of the 2023 season with the Western Conference Final. Obviously, a disappointing way to go out. But what were your thoughts coming out of that game and the postseason performance?
Yeah, I think we were disappointed, right? We set ourselves up in that game, to win the game, and ultimately sort of faded, unfortunately, down the stretch, and just didn't match Phoenix's level. And Russell got a great goal in the first half. We weren't having our best day, but we still win those games. We still find a way to close out those games. And I think that was what was disappointing for everybody, is that we had the game in our hands and on our terms, and we just we ultimately didn't get it done. And I think that's frustrating because we've done that all year. But in the big moments, you got to make big plays and have your team stand up. And I think collectively as a group, it was a collective loss. You can't just point to one thing. There was a feeling that you had if you're in that stadium that it just wasn't quite going the right way, and we needed somebody to really grab it. It didn't happen, and we went home one game earlier than we wanted to. So disappointing. Phenomenal season, no doubt about that. But we had our eyes set on that championship, and it was a tough one to take.
Definitely, as you said, a great season overall. Coach of the Year nomination in Coach Briggs. Goalkeeper of the Year, Danny Vitiello. Multiple all-league performers. So a lot of positives. What do you take away from the season as a whole? Obviously the last game is kind of the thing that probably sticks out the most in your mind. But how do you, as a general manager, take in the whole season?
Yeah, it is. I think you have to step back a little bit and look at the bigger picture. And I think if you do that, you see that we took steps forward, even from a really incredible 2022. And we were coming off 2021. If you remember, we sort of completely retooled, brought in 16, 17 new players that year, and got a lot more right than we got wrong. I think the chemistry of the team, the characteristics of our group were absolutely massive for us, and then propelled us to that 22 Open Cup final, and really kind of shocked the world with what we accomplished in that tournament. Opened a lot of eyes and sort of reinvigorated and reignited our fan base, the passion that Sacramento has always shown, but have now taken it to another level. And so 23 was about, all right, we got to keep that momentum going and build on it, and I think we did that. We were consistent all year long. We were in first place in the Western Conference for all but 1 or 2 weeks. That's hard to do, and that speaks to the progress of our group. So we're excited about that. We, it felt like we built on a great core of players, and are now going to be, as you saw, going to be keeping that core together. For year 3 really of this team, and we're very excited about what that means from a continuity standpoint, from the guys knowing each other, already knowing how far we've achieved, and that we're going to be starting from a very advanced point, and have a lot to prove in 24.
Well, I want to talk about the news that came out yesterday. Recording this on a Tuesday, so it came out today. People will listen to this probably tomorrow or later in the week. We'll take a break. They'll come back, and we'll talk more about the news came out yesterday. All right, you ready? All right, coming back. Todd, you just mentioned the continuity, how much of a difference that's been. Your last year was kind of year one of, I guess, of continuity, because you were coming off a year where you had all new guys. Now heading into year 2 with a lot of returners, how much does that make you feel like, okay, what we built is already set. Now we can just build upon it, adding pieces. You add a Russell Cicerone last year who fit like a glove and really seemed to bring the attack to a whole new level. What is it going to be like going into another year with a lot of guys coming back, and now we can just try and fit small pieces into that roster?
Yeah, that's exciting. It's a huge advantage because you can get caught in cycles where you're rebuilding every year if you're changing the roster significantly. And, we're fortunate that we have a group that is a great group, very high level. Like you said, we had 3 all-league first-team players. Russell Cicerone was 4th in the MVP voting, which unfortunately bumped him to the second team. But we had essentially 4 guys that were first team, and that could have been other players too. I think our defenders, played so well collectively, and they were, rewarded for it in the awards. That doesn't always happen, but that record of, conceding 26, 27 goals in 35, 36 games is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard thing to do. Danny Vitiello got the recognition, and obviously Russ. So it was a great year, I think, for our individuals, and as our collective, we're able to maintain almost everybody from that core group. It's great, and it gives us an advantage starting forward. Mark is going to start from a further point, and we'll hit the ground running in preseason, and the guys know each other, know what to expect, and there's going to be a chip on the shoulder from the season ending when it did.
Does it change the way you think about things? Does it change your offseason? Does it make your offseason a little easier in a way, knowing you have all these guys coming back, rather than 2 years ago you're having to scout and recruit basically 17 new players?
Yeah, we did some of that work, throughout the year, re-signing Connor, re-signing Danny Vitiello before their contracts expired. I think made sense for those guys, and certainly makes sense for us. And I think their performances showed that. It was when you have a good group, you want to keep it together as long as you can, and we see that. I think the guys feel that there's something special with the locker room, something special with this group of players, and we're excited to see what that produces in 24.
And not only that, a lot of the guys kind of in their prime or heading into the prime of their careers with a lot of this group, which makes it even easier to have something to build towards as well. How tough is it coming off a Western Conference final? It's a heartbreaking loss, and you got to basically snap your fingers in a short amount of time and start making roster decisions. Like, how do you separate what just happened from, like we talked about a little bit earlier, but to make those decisions so quickly? Yeah,
that's always going to be a problem, right? No matter if you win the championship and the next day you have to do the same thing, coming off lifting a trophy. So a lot of that work, like I said, has been done throughout the course of the year, and Mark and I work pretty diligently together to kind of get those things planned in advance. And there's some that we don't know until after the season. So we have to work through that and talk through that. But that's really preparation and doing that work throughout the year. But yeah, it's never a fun one to, that's always when the busiest time comes for a general manager is right after this last game.
Right. And obviously losing some guys who have been pretty integral the past couple of years, and Keko and Luther Archimed and Zika Lewis. There's a couple others. Carlos Saldana. Obviously a bummer, but it's just kind of one of those things in professional soccer when you've had a roster and, there's priorities that you have for keeping certain guys. Sometimes guys have other priorities. Maybe they want to go somewhere else. They have different offers. Sometimes all those things, I'd imagine, come into play.
Yeah, it's a very much a different situation for everybody. And, I think we were blessed with, a wealth of talent across the roster, and not everybody got to get on the field that maybe should have gotten on the field. And that's just because we can only put out 11.
Right.
And so there's going to be some natural turnover and change solely because of that. And fortunately our players are pretty highly desired, and so they're going to get opportunities. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But we're really pleased with the guys we're able to return. I think 17 players from our team coming back, adding on top of that a couple of our young guys, and adding some additional pieces. We feel really good about the group.
Well, talking about additional pieces, let's get into them. Trevor Aman signing from USL League One. Hailstorm in Colorado made some noise with basically, I have it written down here. Shout out to Emil Guzman, our producer. We have a producer on the podcast now. This is a big deal.
Executive producer or just producer right now?
Yeah, but we can give him executive. I mean, I think this podcast, there's no executive producer. I think that's pretty clear. Anybody you can listen. There's nobody overseeing this, put it that way.
Yeah.
26 goals across all competitions. I mean, that is a lot of goals. We talked about bringing Cicerone in last year, who'd been a double-digit goal scorer. He did that last year. You bring in a guy like Aman now. How do you expect to see him fit into a championship roster in Sacramento?
First of all, shout out to Westminster, Colorado, Trevor's hometown. So he comes from good stock. You know that, being a Colorado guy. No, he scored a ton of goals, and a lot of different types of goals too. So we were impressed with his knack, his natural ability to get around the box and just to finish. And you can't put a price on that. That is, you always want goals. And Russell brought that to us this year. Sebastian brought it when he was healthy. And bringing in somebody like Trevor to, continue to add on to that attacking core, it really will make a difference. So we feel very confident that he's going to be able to translate into the championship. When you score 26 goals at any level, there's something good there,
right.
And something that will translate. And so we create a lot of opportunities. We get a lot of balls in the box. Having somebody that can get on the end of it, we think that's going to be a great match for Trevor.
How do you see him fitting into the lineup? I know obviously that's also a question probably in training camp for Mark Briggs, but when you kind of envision it and bringing him into this team, where do you see him kind of fitting into the lineup?
Yeah, we think he's a striker. That's his best position. He can play, in the attack in a couple of different spots. So we'll see how training camp goes and how things line up. But he's a guy that's going to add firepower to an already, a good attacking group. When you talk about bringing Christian Perano back, Rodrigo Lopez, Russell Cicerone, Rafa Jauregui, Sebastian, and then young Davion, it's, we feel really good about that group of attackers, and we think there's a lot of goals there.
So Dami Viadere made the jump from League One to championship and had an unbelievable year last year in 22 and this past season in 23. Is there something you look for in League One players, like, okay, I think this guy has what it takes to make the jump? Is that what kind of similar to what you're seeing in Trevor?
We know there's a lot of quality in League One. You have to know where to look and where to find it. But I think, Trevor can follow in Dami's footsteps, who made that jump and has been exceptional for us at the championship level. You could see when he was at Union Omaha, you could see that Dami had something different, that he was special, that he was two cuts above, at that level, and we feel like Trevor comes from that same ilk. So, we think we've had success going to League One and bringing players up, and we think we can do it with Trevor as well.
Two new academy signings this offseason, Chibi and Blake, who I think was announced, a couple weeks ago before Thanksgiving. What did you see in those guys? I know they probably trained with the first team, so there was a lot of opportunity to see them, but what did you see from those guys? Yeah,
two different stories, but two great stories. I think you start with Blake, who's been in our academy since he was 10 years old. I've sat in the stands with him. Him and his dad were watching, first team training sessions. He just has always lived and breathed it, and is Republic through and through. So when you have somebody like that who comes through the system, who has done well, he's got a great left foot. We think he can fit into that midfield, those midfield roles, and learn from the likes of Luis Felipe, Arnold Lopez, Nick Ross. He can absorb a lot. He's already done that, and he's turned heads in the time he's had with our first team. Got a lot of guys, take notice of how smooth he is and how effective he can be. So that's the biggest compliment those guys can get, is when their teammates and the first team pros are saying, hey, he's got something. Mm-hmm. And we saw that. Chibi, incredible story from him. Probably shot up 6 inches this year alone. From when he first started with us in preseason to where he finished was night and day. And you could just see the growth. And by the end of the year, holy cow, this 16-year-old has made incredible leaps and bounds in just 7-8 months. It was really impressive. You stand next to him and you think, wow, I would not want to take this guy on one-on-one. And again, somebody who's going to be able to fit into a really strong back line and can learn from the likes of Lee Desmond and Connor Donovan and, Jack and Jared and Shane. He's got a great platform to learn from those guys, but also challenge them and show them that he belongs.
And then probably the question I get, at least I would say probably a fourth of the questions I get are about Davey. And what does his next step look like heading into his first full season as a pro?
More of the same, but a little bit more of the same, if that makes sense. So we're going to keep pulling the strings on where he belongs and when. He's still going to be training with our first team 2 to 3 times a week. He's going to be training with the academy. He's going to be getting extra sessions with our high potential program for our youth players. That's our top academy players that get extra reps, that get extra attention, which has been phenomenal. Blake was part of that. Chibi was part of that. Most of those kids go to Elk Grove Charter School, who's our partner, and allows them to play high-level elite sports, but still get their education in a little bit more of a flexible way where they can go to morning training sessions and not have to miss school. So that part's been great. Davion will continue to do that. He's going with the Mexican national team to a big tournament in Spain. Has interest from the U.S. national team as his age group comes into play next season. So he's going to have a lot of opportunities, and we just have to keep monitoring him. I think we did a very good job in the first, 3 to 4 months that he was a part of the first team of managing his schedule. His parents are taking him, by the way, every single day, so it's not easy on them.
Sure.
So we have to make sure we coordinate everything out in advance. We kind of print out a monthly schedule. We talk about it with him, his family, our strength coaches, making sure that everything's synced up across the board, that we're managing his load, making sure that he's looked after in the right way and that he's getting pushed, but also, having a manageable schedule. He's scoring goals at the academy level, getting games every single weekend, and we'll continue to feature him in the right ways at the right times.
It's exciting for sure. So we talked about, we got 17 guys returning, you got a couple new signings, a couple academy signings. So the roster's starting to fill out, but there's still obviously a few more pieces to add. What are you looking to add to the what spots are left in the 2024 roster?
Yeah, we got a couple announcements that we'll have coming up. We need to add another goalkeeper to replace Carlos, and we're needing to add another wingback. So we have pretty good sights on that, and hopefully have announcements coming out shortly on who those guys are. But we feel good about overall where the roster sits, and then we can kind of be patient, look at what needs come up, look at preseason, how that goes. We have open tryouts coming. We had a ton of success getting Aldair Sanchez.
You're stepping on my next
sorry.
question.
I'm
Gosh.
sorry. And getting Aldair to come in.
That you've signed out of open tryouts. Do you think there's any coincidence there?
No, because left backs, are always overlooked, never get the praise. These guys, but it's a good point. Like Ash was actually not a left back when we signed him. He was a winger, and like most left backs, hey, can you scoot back a couple areas on the field and you can be effective there. Both those guys did great, but Aldair, took it to another level, started a bunch of games for us, and is coming back, to compete for that left wing back position.
I mean, 21 years old, looked unbelievable when Dami was injured, and then even forced Dami to play different positions because both of them were so good together. So it's exciting things for sure. And you mentioned, so you're talking about, finding small other pieces. Are these waiting until the season gets closer on? You mentioned the two already that we obviously haven't announced yet, but at the remaining few spots you want to have available, are those you're looking for maybe guys who don't make an MLS roster, or guys who maybe we don't know about yet, or still, like, what is the thought process there to try to fill out those last few?
Yeah, we feel like with these last two announcements, we'll be a complete team.
Okay.
We'll be ready to compete. We'll have depth and two guys at least competing for every position. That said, we're always open, and we'll continue to push the boundaries if there is a great opportunity out there and somebody that we feel like would make a massive difference for our team. So we're open to that. We can be patient for that and see how it goes, but we feel very good about where the roster sits today.
Well, I mean, bringing back 17 guys, how can you not? So that's very exciting. Okay, quick things, some housekeeping. I wrote down housekeeping. You won the MLS Fantasy Championship and Supporters Shield, one loss on the year. There may have been some taunting between us in the playoffs. We won't have to say who that was. I think I talked about it on the podcast before. Congrats to you. Not only that, lost just one game all year long.
Yeah, it was, I was hoping for the Arsenal, undefeated season, but shout out to John Jacobs and his pizza party. Was he the pizza party team?
I think so.
Yeah, pizza party team. So big win for him. But no, it was it's a lot of fun for our office. I love that camaraderie because now I think there was 24 28.
I think there was 28 teams. Yeah.
28 individuals in our office were part of that, and it was just fun. It's great for bonding.
Yep.
I have some inside help and knowledge that people claim that I cheat with. It's just soccer knowledge.
It's not.
Just soccer knowledge.
It is. I lost because Pookie scored 4 goals, and it happened to be against LA Galaxy, who you may or may not have played for a very long time. I just think there might be something there. That's all.
It's a great selection.
The commissioner's office is investigating. We haven't seen.
I welcome any and all investigations. I stand by everything I've done.
All right. Last thing. Did you watch the Beckham doc? This is what I've gotten most people to talk about. Have you watched it?
I did. Yes. I guess first, what was your
lot
reaction?
of Todd. Well, some Todd Dunivant, little Madam Moffat. Unfortunately for him.
You haven't brought that up with him yet on the podcast.
Of course I did. I absolutely have.
Okay.
I immediately brought it up. I feel bad because I know that one probably stings probably pretty bad for him because I don't think he never won one. And I probably maybe went a little overboard bringing it up.
It's not like you to go overboard.
No, not at all. Not at all. Rob was helping me there. It wasn't like I was going.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty cool. It's cool to see, kind of a younger you playing with Beckham in the story.
No, I appreciate that. And, funny enough, it sort of opened my kids' eyes to the fact that Dad actually used to have a cool job. They think I have an okay job now, but I get a lot from them. I wish you were a player still, because that is cool. And so some of their friends saw it, and they said, hey, I saw your dad on the, Beckham documentary, which is a, good piece of advice for anyone. Always join in the celebrations with the superstars because you'll be immortalized forever being in those reruns of hugging the the guys who did it.
How did you not get an interview? I don't understand. There's no I was blown away. I thought for sure it's like you played there with him almost the whole time.
Yeah, no, it was cool to see. And what a career. I mean, you look at what he went through, and I think it opened up even my eyes of just what he went through in England during, the World Cup, coming back after playing Argentina, and literally the next year having, the best season, Manchester United winning the treble. It was just unbelievable, and he was, I started college, and we watched that treble team. There was a VHS. I don't know if you know what that is, but there was a VHS tape of that season, and we watched that as a team probably 5 times my freshman year, and it was just something that was like so special, so incredible. And Beckham was the guy that you just saw like goal after goal, game after game. He's whipping in balls, and that's coming off of that, what he went through and was going through. But that season sort of turned it for him, and just incredible. Like, talk about Indomitable. Like, that is our club ethos and who we are. His mental ability to focus, to be doing all the things that he did off the field, and then flip a switch. I think Gary Neville said it. He can flip a switch like nobody else, and all of a sudden he's locked into the game. So he can be a world superstar, world celebrity, doing fashion, doing all these things, and then boom, he's right back into the game, and he's fully there. That's incredible. Yeah. And that's a superpower.
Were you able, because you did watch it, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so did you relive any of the memories from it, watching that? Some of the LA Galaxy, big moments that they showed?
It was brief. When he first came to the team, I wasn't on the team. So the first year and a half that he was there, I was in Toronto at that time. He came to Toronto for the All-Star game. It was just incredible, like what he brought when he, came to town. It was like the whole town shut down. People are outside of the hotel. Can you believe that? The level of fame, the level of excitement that he brought to the MLS and to the league was truly amazing. And I don't, maybe wasn't even fully captured in the documentary because and then when I did join the team, I felt that, like I said, when I was going against them, but then, then when he came, we would show up in a bus, whether it was in Australia on a tour, whether it was in DC, it didn't matter. He had to deal with so much outside of the game, and just brought so much attention. It was really incredible. And I actually got to play against him when I was playing for the Galaxy for the first time in 2005. We played against that Galacticos team in 2005 at the Home Depot Center at the time. Zidane was their guy, but they had Roberto Carlos, Brazilian Ronaldo. I had to mark David Beckham for the first 30 minutes.
Oof.
He got subbed out, and then they put on Figo. So I couldn't even move. We didn't touch the ball the whole time. We lost 2-0 and celebrated like we won the World Cup. We were so happy. And then Steve Sampson the next day came in and absolutely tore us apart on video and brought us right back down to earth. But it was great. It was what a cool experience. And Zinedine Zidane was I think he was in the documentary a little bit. Mm-hmm. He was on a different planet for how good he was. But that was amazing to see. And I think, also played a part in David coming was when he was in LA. He saw what that was about. You saw what it meant to Victoria and the family to be in America and be happy there, and you saw that with him.
Yeah, it's such a cool documentary. It's as someone who was a little young, a little before my time, getting to see it and knowing some of the things, and also kind of like in the rooting for Todd to be on this documentary mindset was also fun as well. So it was a great watch. I encourage everyone to take a look. Last thing, and I feel this, and I'm a part of the team, but not like a part of the team. The sour taste in the mouth following the Western Conference, and I know how much motivation you have on a daily basis, just in whether general manager, whether it's fantasy, like you are very competitive. I would imagine for you and for Mark, and a lot of the players on the roster, it is an unbelievable motivation to see that team who beat Sacramento on your home field celebrate in front of you, right?
Just stoking the fire, aren't you?
I'm sorry.
No, 100%. And I talked to Mark about this because you're right. This really hurt. This really was a tough one to take, I think, for everybody. But I also look back at, I've been lucky in my career to have a lot of ups, but a lot of downs too. Mm-hmm. And we had, you talk about Beckham and the success we had at LA. I kind of go back to how that all started. I came back to that team in 2009. 2008, it was the worst team in the league. Didn't make the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs in 2021. Then the next year, we actually, had a completely new team essentially. Brought in a lot of new players, Greg Berhalter, Mike McGee, drafted Omar Gonzalez. There was a whole new team that was kind of brought in. We went to the final, and we lost in the final to Real Salt Lake in penalty kicks. Oof. Very similar to us going to the U.S. Open Cup final, losing in the final. Then the next year, we were the best team in the league, won the regular season title, lost in the semifinals. Republic, same pathway. Won the regular season Western Conference, lost in the semifinals. In Galaxyland, we ended up going from that and then winning 3 out of the next 4 years. We won MLS Cup. Won in 11, won in 12, and won in 14. So that for me is what we have to do here at Republic and use this as a springboard. We've got the base, we've got the pieces, and we've got the experience now and the chip on the shoulder to go out and get it over the top. And I think that those losses in LA, in those back-to-back years, we had great teams but didn't end up lifting the trophy at the end of the year. That was our motivation moving forward, and we were a team that were possessed because of that. We have to do that here, and it's a very similar pathway. So that's going to be the focus, and I think that'll be day one, what we talk about in preseason.
Well, thank you for sitting down. I appreciate it. Excited to have a lot of the guys returning, and excited for 2024, and hopefully your Christmas and holiday break is a little calmer than it has been in the past, right? Should be. I think so. No?
On the player side, there's so much work to do in the offseason.
Okay.
There's never
that's why I shouldn't have said
There's never a break. But yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of the player side, we've got a great a great foundation and feel good about it going into the break.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Well, thank you so much for sitting down.
Thank you.